Hey everyone, this is Carbonite, and today I'm going to be bringing you a fight replay between two of my teammates. On the right, we've got Ryuki playing Genesis Regalia, and on the left, we've got Joshua playing his Rising Nova Spike Brothers deck. So we're going to be starting off with a Genesis. Ryuki's just going to ride into the Regalia PG, which is not really your best ride target. But at the same time, you can always just Soul Blast it out and fetch another copy from the drop zone. So passing over to Joshua, it looks like he's just going to be riding that Dudley William, swinging and passing. Ryuki's going to be riding that grade 2 Lurie, using the Counter Blast to call a Regalia from the top 5. Looks like he's going to be getting a Norn. And I do believe with Lurie's skill, you get Divine Gauge it. He's actually going to be Divine Gauging that PG that he rode earlier, just to get into the drop zone, I assume. And he is going to try to boost, but Norn does not actually have boost yet. So we're just going to swing 10 at the Vanguard. Looks like Joshua's going to take it, get a draw trigger. Which is pretty nice. He's going to ride into not Rona, but the Dudley Davy, and using that Counter Blast. As well as William's skill. William's skill is going to call itself out. He's going to Counter Blast 1. Calling out a grade 3, which is going to be a Dudley Lucifer, and Dudley Lucifer is just going to Soul Blast to refund that Counter Blast. So it looks like he's going to be calling an Agile, Fullback, and a Dexter, using the Dexter skill to put the Fullback into the deck and call out 2 grade 2s. Like I said, we are teammates, so we do know each other's decks. So he's going to be calling out another Agile Fullback to the back row, center, rear guard circle, along with a Breath Spurt. The Fullback was called by a card effect, so it is going to be getting 10k, and it is able to attack from the back row. So swinging with that Breach Spurt, he's going to be using the skill to bottom deck his starter. And force Ryuki to intercept. Actually, he's going to try to intercept with a Norn, but you cannot intercept from the back row. So that skill is actually not going to force Norn into the Guardian Circle. Looks like Ryuki's just going to take it. After the battle, Breach is going to go into Soul, allowing him to draw a card. He's going to swing with that Agile Fullback next. Looks like we're just going to take it as well. Getting a defensive here, but unfortunately it is just a stand trigger. But it is going to be enough to make this a 1 to pass, which unfortunately he does hit it, hitting that heal, which means he is going to be pushing Ryuki all the way to 4 already. And then he's going to be swinging with that Dudley Lucifer with the William, which is going to be hitting for 21, which is unfortunately a 5k guard is not enough, so it's going to call out that PG from Ryuki. He's going to be riding into the Fergan for his grade 3 turn. Looks like he's calling out an Yggdrasil and a Norn from hand, along with a Thrud, using the Thrud skill to Divine Gauge itself, and then following that up with the Fergus skill, his grade 3 skill, to check top 5, call out a Regalia, and then he gets to Divine Gauge it. And it looks like he got that Var, which is going to give him a little bit of extra resources if he so wishes. He does already still have 2 Counter Blasts to work with, but just getting that counter charge and the extra soul charge is going to let him have a lot more resources to play with for going into this turn. So it looks like he's going to be using the next one of the Norn skill to draw a card, Divine Gauge, and then soul charge 2 more. Oh, and unfortunately we do see the OT going into soul, which is unfortunate, but probably Josh is pretty happy about that, knowing that you don't have to deal with OT. It's always very nice. So it looks like we're going to be using the second Norn skill to draw another card, Divine Gauging the OT under the Yggdrasil, and soul charging 2 more. No triggers this time, so hopefully that increases his chance of seeing a trigger within his next couple of drive checks. So next up, we're going to be calling up that Shiny Angel to put 3 Regalias from the drop zone back into the Soul. And it looks like he's going to just retire it and call it over with an Orndain Owl. So going into the battle phase, looks like he's going to swing with the Thrud boosted by the Orndain Owl, which is 23 thanks to the grade 3. He's going to proc both skills to slide them both into Soul and draw 1 card for each, and move that Divine Gauge back to the Norn behind the Vanguard. Swing with the Fergus boosted by the Norn, which now it does have boost because Yggdrasil is on board. Looking like it's going to be a 23-28. So It's like Joshua's just thinking about how he's going to guard this because it is a 2 critical attack. Looks like he's going to call a Heal Guardian, which is going to make it 25, 35, 40, which is going to be a 2 to pass with that 28. So we're going to hit 2 drive checks, 2 grade 3s, 2 blanks. So it looks like he's going to be pretty good there. He's going to be using that Norn skill to discard a card, discarding a Divine Gauge. Looks like he's still thinking about what he wants to do. He's going to discard the PG. And it looks like he's made a slight mistake with a shiny angel earlier where he didn't put the PG in. So we're just going to get that fixed right now. He's to restand his Vanguard using that Norn skill, of course. Looks like he's thinking about swinging with the Yggdrasil. This is just a 23 against that Davy that is still at 20 base. So it looks like he is going to swing with Vanguard and Soul Blasting that 6 in order to activate the Marduk skill from the G zone to basically just superior stride it during the battle phase. And looks like Joshua's just going to PG that swing, not even taking any risks. And looks like he's going to use the skill, the PG that was Soul Blasted, to bind the other copy and add the other one to his hand. Alright, so looking at the triple drive, we see crit and another crit. So an extra 20k and 3 damage to that Yggdrasil, swinging for, that's 23, 33, 43, 53 for 3 damage. And it looks like he's just going to be taking that first swing. He's going to get a defensive, but once again, this is also a stand, so it's only going to be a 5k. So this Dudley Empress, or this Davy, is just sitting at 25. And Yggdrasil is swinging once again for the same number, I think like 48? No, 38. So then it's gonna call 20k guard. That's gonna put him up to 45, which should be enough to guard the attack. Okay, so moving back into Joshua's turn, this is where the game really gets scary if you're the Regalia player. You really wanted to kill your opponent there, because if you let Spike Brothers stride, they kind of just auto win, assuming the player knows what they're doing. But yeah, going into this turn, it's not really looking good for Yuki, because he's going to be facing down, we're talking like 7+ attacks, and he does not have the greatest of hand. He has a decent amount of defensive options in his hand, but when you're going up against spikes, you really need to have either like a massive hand or call Hanali on board. Otherwise, you are pretty much dead at this point. So it looks like he is going to be striding into the card that's going to be doing all the work, the Galley, using the skill the Agile Fullback to put itself into the soul to call another one from deck. He's going to be moving up that Dexter that was in the back row, and starting with the swings, he looks like he's the Agile Fullback. That's going to be 30 using the stride skill, because anytime anything attacks, it gets an extra 10k, which is going to call for a 20k shield. This Dexter is actually going to be swinging for 28, which is yet another 20k shield. And this time it's under a force marker, so it's going to be calling for 2 damage. So it looks like we can guard with a stride fodder and a trigger there. Dexter goes back to the bottom. Rona's going to boost that Dudley Lucifer for 23, 33. Looks like we're just going to take this one. Another defensive, but this time it is yet again a stand. So only a 5k buff. So it looks like Galley's going to swing using the skills of Soul Blast 1, give all the units on board boost, and calling out 2 cards. So he's going to be calling out a Dexter as well as the stand trigger. He's going to be using that Dexter skill to slide that Rona into the soul and call 2 more grade 2s, one of which being the fullback that just went back to the bottom of the deck, and yet another Rona. And using that Rona skill, he's going to call another Lucifer in front of it. Lucifer is going to Soul Blast 1 to counter charge, and it looks like Ryuki's going to just PG this Vanguard swing. We're going to check triple drive. First check, nothing. Second check, draw trigger. Looks like he's going to giving 10k to the stand trigger and drawing card. Third check, another draw trigger. So it looks like he's going to be giving another 10k somewhere and drawing another card. Although honestly at this point it doesn't really matter how big Joshua's hand is, because he's probably going to be finishing it this turn with that second Agile Fullback swing for another 30k. That's a 20k shield, which given the number of attacks that are still remaining, it makes sense to just take that, because you have still the Dudley Lucifer swinging, you have the Dexter and the stand trigger column that's boosted, and then the stand trigger is going to recall the Dexter is going to call 2 more cards, and then you can basically just do the same play all over again. So anyways, that's going to be it for the game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one.